If your artifact inventory is always full, but your characters are still weak, you're keeping the wrong pieces. Most players don't have a farming problem, they have a decision problem. You don't know what to keep, what to trash, or what might be useful later. So here's a simple system to fix that. Every artifact fits into two categories: support artifact or damage artifact. If you understand this, everything becomes easier. Support artifacts are not about damage. Their job is to buff your team, enable reactions, and keep your rotation smooth. So instead of chasing crit stat, you focus on what actually helps the team. Most supports want energy recharge first, then you look at useful stats like EM, HP, or whatever the character scales with. If you're using a 5S weapon, then crit rate matters too. Otherwise, it's not important here. For example, Instructor is all about elemental mastery. Noblesse Oblige focuses on giving your team attack when the character bursts, so energy recharge is important. Archaic Petra gives elemental damage bonus. Tenacity of the Millilith scales with HP and boosts team attack. Deepwood Memories reduces Dendro resistance. Redescent Werner focuses on elemental mastery and resistance shred. Here's a mistake most players make. They throw away support artifact just because they don't have crit. That's wrong. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you get a Verdance of Werner piece with Elemental Mastery as the main stat, and the substats are Energy Recharge, HP, and Flat Defense. Most players look at this and think it's bad because there is no crit, but for an Animus support, that's usually a good piece. It helps reaction, it helps your rotation, and it does exactly what the character needs, so you keep it. Now let's flip it. You get a support piece with crit rate and crit damage, but no energy recharge and no useful stats. That looks good at first, but it doesn't help your team at all. So that one is actually worse. If the artifact helps your rotation, buffs your team, or fits the character, it's good enough to keep. Now, let's talk about damage artifacts. This is where you need to be strict. Damage dealers need to maximize output, so your standards are much higher. You almost always want crit rate and crit damage. On top of that, you want whatever the character scales with, like attack, HP, defense, or elemental mastery. And here's the truth. Most artifacts you get will be bad. That's normal, so don't try to make every piece work. Instead, use this simple 3-step test. First, check the main stat. Let's say you get a goblet with defense as the main stat, but your character scales with attack. That's an instant discard, no thinking needed. Second, check the substat. You want at least 2 useful stats. For example, crit rate and crit damage is great. Crit rate and attack percent is also good. But if you see something like flat defense, flat HP, and no crit, that's usually not worth keeping. Now third, test the rolls. Let's say you get a piece with crit rate and crit damage. It looks amazing. You level it up and everything rolls into flat defense. At that point, you usually stop. But here's something important a lot of players don't take advantage of. One artifact started with 4 substat and it has a double crit, you can still take it to level 20, and if it rolls badly, you can reroll it. So instead of throwing it away immediately, you give it one more chance. This only applies to strong starting pieces. If it didn't start with 4 substat, or it doesn't have strong stats like double crit, it's not worth it. But if it does, it can still become a good artifact after rerolling. Now let me show you how this looks in real decision. Imagine you have 3 artifacts. The first one has a correct main stat but no crit at all. The second one has a correct main stat, 1 crit stat, and 1 useful stat. The third one has a correct main stat, double crit, and a good scaling stat. You always prioritize the third one. The second one is worth testing. The first one is usually not worth your resource unless it's for a support. And if the third one rolls badly, that's when the reroll option becomes available. This is how you avoid wasting materials while still giving high potential artifacts a second chance. Now here are some of the biggest mistakes players make. They keep every 5-star artifact just because it's rare. They try to force bad artifacts to work. They overvalue crit on supports, and they invest too much into artifacts that already showed bad rolls. All of this slows your progress down. Here's a simple way to think about everything. Supports care about function, that is, doing what they need to do, and damage dealers care about efficiency. They need to extract as much damage as possible. If the artifact doesn't improve that, you don't need it. Before you keep any artifact, ask yourself, who is it for? Does it match the role? Does it actually improve performance? If you can't answer those quickly, just get rid of it. Let me give you one final quick example. You get an artifact with a perfect crit stats, but it doesn't match any character you use. You might feel like keeping it just in case. But if you don't have a clear plan for it, like a character you're planning to pull, it's just taking space. Good artifacts are not just about stats, they're about usefulness. If you follow this system, you'll save resin, clean your inventory, and build stronger characters much faster. Thank you for watching this video, like and subscribe for more content like this. Have a great day.